When I was around 12, one of my buddies got a Schwinn Moto Beacon bicycle. It had kind of some tank-like structures on either side of the frame, going from the seat to the handlebars, and it was stylish and it was mobile. And I went to my dad and I said, "Dad, all the kids in town have got a Schwinn bicycle. Would you buy me one?" And Dad said, "I'm not going to buy you a bicycle. But I will help you get the money to buy one. I represent widows whose husbands have recently died and they don't have anybody to mow the lawn anymore. So I will introduce you to some of those ladies." And he did. And I began mowing lawns for between $1 and I may have gotten $4 once, I don't know, but it was mostly from $1 to $2.50. I started mowing lawns and I started holding on to the money. Pretty soon, somebody alerted me to the availability of a used bicycle of exactly the bike I wanted. It was a little sun bleached, but it was exactly the bike I wanted. And I bought it for $35 instead of $65 for a new one. That led to a lifetime, I think, of being more interested in durability, utility than in fancy cars. And I've spent much of my life driving cars that were over 10 years old. I found a wonderful mechanic near where I lived, and for very modest amounts, he kept those cars running wonderfully. It's funny that I'll tell another story about that. Well, I'll tell it now, and then I'll go back about more generally how I ended up being frugal about the things I buy and the things I consume. Many years after I got that bicycle, which I was so happy with, I was a judge, and I was 63, 4 years old, and I was newly assigned to the criminal division, and they gave me this case where a middle-aged man had stolen a bicycle that was used as a sting. The police got a fancy bicycle, leaned it up against the store, a Safeway store, and then sat back, waited for somebody to come and steal it. Well, this fellow was somebody who was making a very modest living out of his garage, repairing bicycles, and that was an irresistible temptation for him to grab that bicycle. Well, the law for when it becomes a felony theft, it was $750 at that time. Don't hold me to that, but it was either that number or something very close to it. And so if it was a misdemeanor under $750, it was a maximum of 1 year in the county jail. And with current jail practices, that probably meant 2 or 3 months at most, because jails are so crowded, they keep cycling people in and out. But if it was over $750, there was a mandatory minimum of 5 years, if you can believe that. And somebody really was going to crack down on theft, which the people who won't vote for more money for schooling and mental health treatment want to, by golly, they want to get down on people who steal things. And so they came in with this case, and my mind started churning about the $35 used bike I bought, half of the retail of $65. And so they brought their witness in who had a bike shop, and he testified that, yes, those bicycles were $900 retail. Let's see, 900 used, half of 900, $450. And so I said, well, do you sell those bikes used? No, I don't, only new. Okay. So they didn't have a witness to say that the bicycle used was worth more than $750. And so I ruled that this was going to be a misdemeanor case, not a mandatory minimum felony case. And it made the DA so mad. She stormed out of the courtroom. She's somebody that I'd been very helpful to earlier. She was tending to have migraine headaches. And my goodness, where did the 5 minutes go? So later in the day, I ran into the elected DA, and he said, "Boy, you sure caused some excitement in my office today." And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, did they tell you that I gave the guy a year in the county jail?" "No, they didn't tell me that. All they told me was that you cut off the..." So after that, when I would run into him in the elevator, he'd say, "Well, Jan, we got to go out and do some bicycle shopping." So learning by mowing lawns that a bicycle is about half retail in perfect condition, a year or two old used, bent me toward justice.